Welcome back to Coffee, Config, and Chaos. I'm Jerry Wong.
And I'm Andrew Robinson, and today we've got someone who's helped shape the ServiceNow ecosystem behind the scenes.
Farrah Wells is a recruitment director and co-founder at Linking Humans, the world's first dedicated ServiceNow recruitment agency. Since 2016, she's led a global delivery team connecting developers, architects, and analysts to their next big roles.
So under her leadership, Linking Humans was named Cloud-Based Software Recruitment Agency of the Year 2024. And she also drives veteran-focused initiatives through ServiceNow's Rise Up program.
And Farah's big on career pivots, virtual recruitment, and diversity in tech. She's a voice behind career advice, top talent insights, and maybe even your next gig.
All right, Farrah, grab your coffee and join the chaos.
Look, I just want to say a huge thank you for inviting me on. I think it's actually quite nice to be on this side of the seat because obviously, Jerry, Andrew, you've seen the podcast, right? Beyond the title, Conversations with ServiceNow's Elite. But yeah, also, I can't take all credit for Linking Humans. I have to credit in Dan and the amazing team that we've got as well. So yeah, I mean, look, obviously we do ServiceNow recruitment. It's our bread and butter. It's what we're passionate about. It's the only thing that we do. So we're really vested in the ecosystem and really vested in helping people, be successful, whether that's somebody looking for their next job or whether that's somebody that's looking to grow their team, that's who we are. We're here to help and support and be that kind of anchor within the ServiceNow ecosystem. So yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
So Farrah, you've built a global recruitment firm, obviously, with Dan as well, and the team, but you're very focused entirely on ServiceNow. But what inspired you and the team, and what's impacted that you're most proud of?
Yeah, so look, it started with a really simple observation, right? So ServiceNow talent, which is you guys, everybody that's listening, you guys are quite rare, okay? And for companies hiring the right people, it can be quite difficult, So we here at Linking Humans, we saw an opportunity to really create real value by focusing purely on the ecosystem. So not just dabbling, but going all in. And that's essentially how Linking Humans was born. And what am I really most proud about? Honestly, it's the human stories, right? So it's the people that we've helped, in their own personal story, right? In their life story. We've helped people relocate countries. We've helped people move on to the next step in their ladder. We've even, been part of people's lives where it's changed their whole family's life, right? It's, changed their whole family's dynamic in terms of, they were living in a different country. Now they're living in a completely different country. So, for us, it's really about being that anchor, helping, even like the companies and the partners and the ServiceNow customers, scale faster as well because they finally got the right people on board. It's a ripple effect, and it's what really drives all of us here at Linking Humans. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, I love that answer, and especially like you mentioned around the human side of things, because everyone will have their own story, and for me, stories are quite powerful. And out of curiosity, I wanted to ask you the question in terms of the name. We're Linking Humans. How did you come up with that name? And I know you mentioned the people element, but was there a different name before Linking Humans, or did you have a conversation in terms of what it could be?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to take all credit for it. That actually was solely from Dan, but he spent a long time thinking about it, and with recruitment, right, it can be quite. People see it as a very transactional role. What we wanted to do is we wanted to bring the human element back into it, and what essentially. What role do recruiters play, right? They link people together. And so that was the thing. It was like sitting down and, thinking about, well, what's our values? What are we trying to achieve? What's the goal? And the goal was really linking humans. We want to link humans together. And and so we were like, right, let's go for it. So but I'd love to say it was all me, but I have to put down the credit. So, but that's where it really came from.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, Farrah.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is how do you move from specialist recruiter into coaching career pivots and community building within the ServiceNow ecosystem, along with obviously your day job?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, that's the thing, right? Everybody sees recruitment as quite transactional, and it can be if you let it be, right? But what we noticed was people wanted more. Okay, so as I spent more and more time with everybody in the ecosystem, hiring managers, people looking for work, people I meet at the dev meetups, right? Socially, going to the London forums, going to Vegas, I realized what everybody wanted was guidance. They didn't just want it to be a transaction. And that kind of just naturally led to coaching and, helping within the community as well. And I've been really lucky that everyone's been so welcoming. I mean, for example, when I went to Vegas, it was like the Now Women organized like a breakfast, and it was just amazing to go there and see all these inspirational people, and meet them. And, we just had a really nobody was talking about, wanting a job or anything like that. It was just getting to know each other. And also from us as well, it's for us to learn what you guys do, right? Because that is going to help us do our job better as well. So, I mean, look, for us, it's really important that we build these long-term kind of partnerships with everybody, and relationships, because we're not just a one-time recruiter, right? We want to be with you throughout your whole career journey. We want to support you. And and I think the community is just a massive part of it. So, so.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's the thing within the ServiceNow community as well. Everybody's so helpful and and you know what? People just strive. They generally do just want to be a part of that. I mean, a community, right?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? Even for example, Andrew, I see your posts on LinkedIn, and you do post stuff about what you're doing at the weekends, and and it's just, and you feel like you know people. So when you meet them in person, it's not awkward. It's not like, oh, who are you? What do you do? It's like, hey, I know you. Oh, brilliant. You had that Lego set. I really loved it. Do you know what I mean? You can just talk stuff. So I would definitely recommend anybody who's maybe starting their journey within the ServiceNow ecosystem. I'd say you're so lucky because you're surrounded by some of the nicest people, because I've been in recruitment since 2001. I've always done tech recruitment. I've kind of started from 4G languages like Progress, Oracle, and, Infomix and Uniface and, all those kind of languages which I used to recruit for. And, there wasn't anywhere that they had this sense of community, and helpfulness. And, so that was a big driver as well for us at Linking Humans when we were thinking, oh, where do we really want to dedicate our efforts into? And honestly, you guys just make it what it is. So it is brilliant. If anyone's started their journey, they need to kind of get involved. They need to be attending and meeting people face to face. Go to the dev meetups. They're everywhere. They're in every country. If you can, go to the forums. If you can, get yourself a ticket to Vegas. Go there. It's just it changes everything, right? So. Hopefully that answers it.
No, definitely. I mean, come on, Farrah, you're already on the show now. You don't need to start throwing compliments our way. They're all friends. Bearing in mind, this could be as if, I've only met them for the very first time. But that shows a sense of community. You may not be in the room with someone, but they feel as if they know you.
Yeah, definitely, 100%, and that's a big thing, And also, it's I had somebody the other day who was needed to pass their CSA exam as part of their job role, okay? And I said to them, right, you like make sure you register, as on the community, and they didn't know about it. And they were like, oh my God, this is so brilliant, because I was able to ask questions. And then I think they were trying to log in and the login wasn't working. And, nobody was getting back to them. So they checked to the community, and people were just reassured, saying, oh, don't worry, ServiceNow will get back to you and you'll be able to take the exam. And they were like, oh, it was just brilliant. Like, so many people jumped in, and there's somebody who's just starting their career, right? So they didn't even know that these these platforms existed. And but yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I know that you've invited me on, but listen, you guys are the reason why the community is so great, right? So
Thank you, Farrah.
it's a huge thank you to all of you. Like, the efforts that you put in outside of your day jobs, I think is just amazing. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Oh, thank you
You're welcome.
So Farrah, I was looking at, in terms of from your vantage point, what's changing most in the ServiceNow hiring space, especially post-pandemic and also with remote work?
Yeah, definitely. So look, I think remote working flexibility is now, it's not a perk anymore. It's more the expectation, right? So, top talent, they want that flexibility. They want to be able to, have that independence. And for many, many years, I think definitely, for sure, definitely since COVID, but a lot of companies pre-COVID as well used to have, remote working. So I think that has really shifted, in terms of like global hiring. For example, you could potentially be sat here in the UK and you could be doing a contract project in the US, right? So as long as you're okay to work the time zones, so it's become global. Especially for like contract roles, it's very much like global kind of hiring, which I would say is like the big change that's happened. Also, I would say speed as well. People, like, as in, I think this is really important for companies to learn, is that people who are looking for jobs, they're not interested in waiting weeks and weeks and weeks and having a process that just drags and drags and drags, and multiple kind of like, levels, which previously was quite the norm. So I think that has happened. That's been a change that I've seen, that's shifted. I think maybe even like with, like AI and stuff, there are different ways now that interviews can be done thoroughly, and get wrapped up quickly, because like the best people don't hang around on the market too long. So yeah, I would probably say they're probably the biggest couple of changes that I've seen, for sure.
Oh, thanks for sharing, Farrah. I mean, like you say, it's very important in terms of what's, when you mentioned that, you could work in the US if you're based in the UK. I didn't know you could do that, but again, there's no barriers then in terms of, like you mentioned, you can just work globally as long as you conscious of the time that you're going to be working in, and able to balance that across your own work and personal life as well. But no, thanks.
Definitely. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? When you're sat in your house, you could be anywhere, right? You could be in like Thailand, sat there doing it, as long as you've got a good internet connection and the hours work for you. Then and I think that's another good change that I've seen in employers, that say, for example, somebody wants to go on holiday, a lot of them now will say, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, look, or for example, I need to go and see a sick relative. They're like, oh, just take your laptop with you. As long as you're online and you carry on working, we're happy to support you. So that's really good. So I think you're definitely that whole kind of global kind of shift. And also what I'm noticing as well is delivery centers. There's a lot in India. There's South Africa's a new hub that's really kind of like blowing up. The Eastern Europe. So there's a lot of like opportunity for those guys as well to work with, companies in the US, in Europe, in the Far East, whereas, previously they may not had that opportunity because they couldn't relocate, right? So I think that has been a big shift.
From your perspective then, so what what soft skills or under the radar qualities make candidates stand out to you these days? So, like, I'm not talking about, obviously you've got like sort of like the hard skills such as, you know, coding, everything like that. But what about like soft skills as a person that you're looking for? Because I always have this way of thinking where you have two types of people who are in tech. You either have the people who were born into it, and you have the people who have grown into it.
Yeah.
Were born into it are genuinely, you know, they're quite introverted, whereas people who have grown into it are quite extroverted.
Absolutely. So look, you know, like obviously there's the classic, you know, soft skills like team working, etc., blah blah blah. But you know what? I personally, when I, you know, when I recruit somebody into a role, one of the key things people have been asking now is that they want people who are self-aware, and they want people who've got humility, right? So these are soft skills that are not bandied about, you know, the classic kind of soft skills. And I'll tell you why, because ServiceNow is massively kind of evolving, right? And, you know, people want to hire people who are coachable, you know, who are receptive to learning, but at the same time are smart enough to ask the right questions, right? So these are like soft skills that don't get talked about very often, but they're really compelling, right? If you're self-aware and you're humble at the same time, you're able to explain really complex workflows or transformation projects in a really human way, and that is gold. You know, that is what people look for. So I would say those two key things for sure: self-awareness and humility. Be humble, stay coachable, and ask smart questions. And to be honest with you, it doesn't need to be a smart question. Ask questions, right? Be curious. That is what's going to get you far ahead in your career. I was going to say ahead in life. It'll get ahead in life as well, right? But definitely in your career for sure.
Exactly. I mean, I was just going to say, when it comes down to talking about technical jargon and stuff, the thing is, I always think of it in a way that if, let's say, you were down the pub, you wouldn't start a conversation with, have you seen this syntax on this business rule?
Yeah.
You wouldn't. So you tailor it to your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? Because the thing is, what you've got to remember, especially if you're like, say, if you're in a process consultant role, right? Or process architect role, you have to go and speak to stakeholders, and 9 out of 10 times they're not technical. They don't understand real technical jargon. So you really have to deliver in a very human way, and a relatable way as well. And it's exactly like that, Andrew. It's like, how would you talk to them, you know, in the pub, like on a one-to-one kind of basis, in a way that they'll get it and they understand. And I suppose it's also having that tact and diplomacy, right? It's being diplomatic and, you know, so yeah, I think, but you know, it's hard because these are personality traits, which, you know, you can definitely learn and adapt and change, but you know, it's about taking good feedback as well. You know, it's about, somebody says to you, oh, I think you're a little bit harsh or a little bit brash in meetings. It's not getting upset about it, but going, okay, that's fine. I get it. Right. Let me think about it and let me prep a bit more before I go into a meeting. And then I know how to handle it and stuff. So.
No, I agree. And it definitely takes a level of maturity to be able to understand that feedback and criticism isn't a negative thing. It's, you know, and it's going to sound quite cliche here, it is a gift, because something that you need to change to improve and grow. So, no, I completely understand.
Yeah. But at the same time, I also believe that the person giving that criticism needs to watch how they deliver it as well, because it can be quite hurtful, right? Let's be honest, right? We've all received, I definitely received criticism, and then I've just gone away from it thinking, I hate you, you know, and then I'm like, after I think about it, go, oh, yeah, okay, fair enough, get your point. So I think the delivery of that as well applies as well, right? So they need to deliver it in a way that's positive and not have a negative kind of long-term impact, because at the end of the day, people have feelings and we're human, right? And having too much criticism, it can be quite hurtful. So I think that's something that people need to be mindful of as well.
Farrah, can I just add to that? I think it's very important. I think we need to be able to talk about, especially with we've got people working with neurodiversity as well, and it's very important. My son as well has got neurodiversity, and you have to find ways to make sure when you are speaking, and again, it's the way that you deliver your message is making sure that you do think and be mindful about it, because what you don't want is, as you mentioned, to upset people. And again, it's put yourself in the shoes as well. Say, well, if I was spoken in that way, how would it made me feel? And again, some of those soft skills, I think it's really important that you're in an organization, and again, you could be working, as you mentioned, working with people in a global setting, and you've got different cultures and different ways of working. So absolutely that you've got to be, again, watch how you deliver your message.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's got to be clear, precise, and then still be humble, right? You could use words like, I understand why you did that. I've done the same in the past before. However, do you know what I mean? So there is a softer way to deliver it, which is going to have a positive impact, because, we're all humans and people can fester. So they'll go away and then they'll constantly think about it, and productivity will go down because, their motivation will go down naturally. So, yeah, I think it's really important to have that conversation, because it's really easy. People always say, oh, you should take criticism. Yeah, that's fine. And we can all have a hard skin, but let's think about how you're going to deliver it, right?
Of course.
I think that's a really important, which I don't think gets talked about enough, really.
Thank you, Farrah.
That's all right.
My question really around, recruitment, we all know it can be quite chaotic. But in terms of, have you got any stories that, you've had like a wild hiring moment? So again, maybe like a curveball that's, you think, oh, wow, this ain't going well, but you know what, at the end of it, it's turned into a right success.
Yeah. Oh God, let me think. Okay. So what is it? So, okay, I've got one here. So we had a client approach us that we'd never worked with before, and they came to us in a real panic. They were like, oh God, like somebody's dropped out last minute. It's a really critical project. We've got nobody that can step in. We just don't know what to do. Like, can you please help us? And they were like, we need somebody to start within 48 hours. Like, it's that critical. We were like, wow, okay. So we literally, behind the scenes, we buckled up, we pulled it together. We stayed late nights back in the office. The team worked incredibly hard. We pulled out all the stops, and we managed to find somebody, that was in budget, that was available, that hit all the soft skills, but also all the technical skills. And yeah, they went in, they started. Not only did they deliver, they ended up, being one of their key kind of resources, in the project. And now, whenever another project comes up, they always kind of get asked about, so they left a really strong legacy. And yeah, that was a wild kind of hiring moment, because it happened, it's like somebody drops out, and we didn't even know this company, right? We'd never worked with them before. And I think they just kind of been desperately reaching out, and so we worked hard behind the scenes, and we managed to help them, and now they work with us and only us now, because I was so impressed with how we handled it. So I'd definitely say that was a wild hiring moment that turned great for everybody. So
well, thanks, Farrah. I mean, I think very importantly, like you mentioned, that trust, once you've given the client that trust, that you're able to help and deliver, and also, understanding their situation and really kind of saying, I'm not going to leave you in the lurch here, but we're going to try and support you. And like I say, you did all behind the scenes, and you can make a good impression, right? And I always think things happen for a reason, but it's how you approach it as well. So
Yeah.
thank you for kind of explaining that and sharing that story with us.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And, I think that's the misconception is that, companies think, oh my God, like, they literally sit there and do no work. And, they pull these names out of, or they did a quick LinkedIn search and went, here you go. But actually, it's so, this is our full-time job, right? And, this is what we do. We're speaking to everybody, within the ServiceNow ecosystem, on daily basis. We're talking to everyone. So behind the scenes, we're doing all of this. So then, when situations like that occur, and you're like, I need somebody that can start on Monday, and it's Friday, our team puts out all the stops. We work. My team works so hard. They work late nights. They show up. They work weekends if it has to be. They really are dedicated, and it's because they want to do it. They want to make sure that that they're successful, and that the end customer is successful. That's our real kind of goal, our values. So yeah, it's good. It's fun. It can be a bit hairy, but it's fun.
Oh, well, I kind of want to know about the chaos to clarity moments that you've ever had. So can you let us know about a candidate story where it's felt messy, but then it's their dream job?
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm not going to say names, right? But there's this one person I was helping to get a job. So when I was speaking, I would always meet people on Teams call, right? Because I like to see people in the flesh, but they can't, because we're based on the south coast of the UK. So, if you can't meet in person, at least I want to meet you on a Teams call. So I met them. They were great. We had a great interview. It was brilliant. They were really confident. Great. And then they went for an interview. We prepped them really well, and they just bombed it. They just got so nervous. And when the hiring manager, he was giving me feedback, I was like, did you interview the same person that I did? So, and also the person that was looking for the job, the candidate, he knew himself. When I spoke to him after the interview, he was devastated. He was like, oh, I just don't know what happened. I got so nervous. I froze. I couldn't remember things that I do on a daily basis. It was just a shambles. So then what we did was we did some one-to-one coaching, and we just spent some time with him, right? So practicing interview techniques. We sent him through questions that a client may ask. So a lot of the time they ask questions which are scenario based. So tell me about a time where you had a disagreement in the team, right? What was the situation? How did you handle it, right? So, so we kind of help prep them. And then they went for an interview with somebody else, and they absolutely aced it, right? They absolutely aced it. And they were that confident person that, that we were coaching, that we met on the Teams call, that we spent time with. And they were so thankful. We got big bunches of flowers to the office. It was so lovely. And now they're doing so well. They're really flying. They're still with that same company. I think it's coming up to nearly 2 or 3 years now. So they're still with that same company. They've kind of been promoted. It's just it's a great story. I'm really proud of that, because he's a great guy. And so I think I don't know if that's chaos as the mess, but it's something that we help. So hopefully.
Oh no, I mean, we've all been in those interview moments where somebody asks you a question and then it's nothing comes out.
Yeah.
I suppose that's just a testament really to linking humans, because I don't know any other recruitment agencies who would say, right, this didn't work. Let's take you back and let's work on where you went wrong. So in the future we can line you up for another job interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in other recruitment companies, mantra is right, on to the next one. If that one. Whereas you're looking to invest in those people, which I think is really, really admirable.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean. Recruitment can be quite transactional. Like, there are recruiters that, are like, right, okay, that, it's like products, but it's not products. People are humans, right? This is people's lives. And, that's when, like, when we were thinking of the name, we were like, what are our values? And our values are bringing that human aspect back. And also, I think the difference is because we don't just do everything within the technology kind of space, because we focus on just one kind of, like, like just ServiceNow, we get to know you guys really well. And, and to be honest with you, like, it's not huge, as in, like, compared to, let's say, I don't know, like Oracle, right? There's millions and millions and millions and millions of people, right? So, so you get to know people in the community, like, quite quickly and quite closely as well. I mean, I'll give you an example. When I was in Knowledge in Vegas this year, like, so many people came up to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, we've seen your videos," and it's really heartwarming, because it's like, "Oh wow," and then you get to know them. And even there were people that, oh, I met at Knowledge this year, when the first time I met them was a year before. They're like from America, they're from, like, Australia, and, like, you just keep in touch, and it's just like, it's almost like a friendship circle that you make at the end. Well, not almost like, but it is, So yeah, I think it's really important to be able to help. That's our goal. And hopefully, and that's why we're making a difference.
Yeah, do you know what? And one thing I do remember about linking humans. Tell me about the time when you put an advert up on the Way to World Forum. You basically put a big poster up at
Oh, in the London Tube.
Yes, I remember that, because I took a picture of that from Farrah and I posted it to you.
Yeah, because I was doing the competition, wasn't I? I was going, right, anybody who gets a selfie with it. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we were like, this is such a great opportunity. Like, we were like, we needed to, like, tell people about us, and we needed to kind of be able to say, look guys, we're here. And that's what we wanted to do, right? So we were like, what can we do? How can we tell people about us? And then we were like, oh, hang on a minute, everyone's going to be walking off the tube into into the forum. What better way? And then when I said, right, I was like, right, okay, look, I tell you what, let's get people doing selfies. And then I think it was like, win £100 Amazon voucher. So yeah, because we just want to, like help as many people as possible. And for us, it's like shouting that out. And yeah, and you know what, it's so funny, so many partners came up to us, me and Dan, and they were like, oh my god, that is such a great idea, you guys. Oh, we're going to do that. And I think, like, the following year, like, the price had, like, quadrupled. So yeah, everyone's stolen that idea. But we just needed to tell everyone that we're here and we're here to help. We just want to shout that message across.
Farrah, you've mentioned that, you're very much invested in the community, and the many people that you do meet. And I think I just want to give a really good shout out, because, you've been involved with, like, the Rise Up program for veterans. What an achievement, and really kind of, again, giving back to the community. But I just wanted to ask you, why is it important, and, what have you learned from working with vets in tech?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I think, the veterans, they're amazing, right? They bring such structure. They're such a resilient bunch of people, and they've got a really strong work ethic, right? So they're massively, like, undertapped in tech in general, right? So I think, like, the Rise Up program, it really gives them the training and the confidence to be able to kind of, like, pivot into ServiceNow, and it's really working. So what have I learned from them? Well, like, let's not underestimate their transferable skills, because just because someone wasn't born like tech doesn't mean that they can't excel. And they really shown that you can build a career and then still adapt. And to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that they've done, even the guys that are front line, it's like, they're so invested, right? They're so, once they kind of have a goal, they really want to achieve it. And yeah, it's been amazing. It's been really, really good. I had quite a good coaching session with them not so long ago, and that was really good. And yeah, so hopefully, I think if anybody's out there and they're hiring, I would definitely look at them to hire, because I think they're such a fabulous bunch of people.
So how are you pushing for diversity and inclusion, especially for women, underrepresented groups within ServiceNow?
Yeah, well, look, representation really matters. I love to sort of champion kind of diverse, diverse shortlists, and really call out sort of unconscious bias where I see it. So we definitely, I think, being part of the ServiceNow community, I think it's a very diverse bunch anyway. I think it's a great bunch. You've got like women now, to spotlight talent, for females. And, I see a lot of women as well, who are sort of leaders as well, who are ServiceNow practice leaders, product owners, CEOs. And, the thing that I just really love about the ServiceNow world is that, everybody belongs, if that makes sense. Like, there isn't oh, Andrew, you have a beard, do you know what I mean? It's like, they're like, yeah, embrace it, like, whatever. So, yeah, you just don't feel like there is any difference at all. Like, I've never felt it. And even like as a recruiter, sometimes recruiters can be pushed aside, and I have felt that in different technologies. It's like, oh, you're just a recruiter. They don't see the value in what we bring. But I think the fact that we're allowed, but we get invited to like the dev meetups, to forums, to knowledge, I think it's just a real testament to how open the community is. And even like people who are like celebrities within the world, like, for example, Chuck Tomasi, everybody knows him, everybody loves him.
Yeah.
Every time I've met him, he's just been the most like open, friendliest, nicest person, always has time to stop by, speak, have a selfie. He's never ever once kind of been like, oh, look, I'm rushing to something else, or, oh, no, you're just a recruiter, I'm not going to talk to you. Never once has that happened. And even like people like yourselves, right, Jerry, how long have we known each other? Every time we see each other, it's just like friends, isn't it? And and it's just brilliant. So I think that's really important. So I just feel everyone is included and invited. So everyone to the party.
And a quick shout out to Chuck as well. I remember when I was at the World Forum and he was there. I think it was probably his last World Forum before he retired. I told him my name, and the first thing he came out with was, "Oh no, like from Star Trek." I didn't know that Chuck is a massive Trekkie.
Oh, wow, that's amazing! Yeah, no, he's honestly, it was a sad day when he retired. So, but the rest of the group are just amazing. Like, we've got Lauren, and all the other advocates as well. They're just amazing. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Oh, brilliant.
Right, Farrah, we're going to touch on around life and family and your balance around, obviously you work with Dan.
Yes.
Your husband, and you're both working around tech. So what's it like mixing work and family?
Oh my God, nightmare. No, I'm really joking. I'm joking. Well, look, I'm going to be honest, it's chaotic sometimes, but look, the upside is we really understand each other's worlds, and we're both driven by the impact, that can make. So, we do have boundaries. We kind of say, like, no kind of work talk at dinner time, most of the time, but I think having that shared mission, having that it's actually quite a beautiful thing, right? It's it's quite a good, I feel like we're a good inspiration for our children. So yeah, I mean, it's like working with your partner, isn't it? There'll always going to be time you disagree, but the fact that we've got that shared vision, I think it just kind of helps bring it together as well. So yeah.
Oh, thanks for sharing, Farrah. I mean, I also, I grew up with, obviously my family had a family business, and
Yeah.
I, worked with my mom, my dad, my sister, and I totally understand. Yeah, it's sometimes chaotic, but sometimes you also learn quite a lot of things about your partner or your family members that you work with, and again, it's how can you apply that in the work, in your real work life as well, that you could from.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And, I always kind of said to myself, I wouldn't ever kind of partner up. I'd quite like to be a solo person, but obviously Dan and I share the same values. We share the same everything, and it just made sense, and so it's good. It's good.
My next question is something that everybody in the ServiceNow ecosystem wants to know.
Okay.
Who wears the pants in the relationship?
Come on, Andrew. You know it's going to be me, obviously. So even Dan knows it. No.
Said it straight off the bat. Right.
No, I'm really joking. No, but seriously, we are definitely a team. And we each take the lead, but at the same time, we each back each other up as well. And I think that's really important. There are times where, for example, I say this to Dan every year when we go to Vegas. I'm so grateful that I get to do this journey with you, because if he wasn't in the business, I don't think I'd have the confidence to just go to Vegas by myself. I'd just be too shy. I'd be like, oh. But obviously having him there is like a comfort blanket, right? Even if he'll go off and do something else, I'll go off and do something else, So, I think that kind of support, I think, has helped us we've helped each other with that kind of confidence level. Then it's like, right, okay, we've got that sorted. Now we can just focus on you guys, right? So, definitely. I wouldn't change it.
That was a very diplomatic answer there, Farrah.
It's the truth. It's the truth. He's going to be listening. No, honestly, it's the truth.
Wait, Andrew, we're going to try and get Dan on next, aren't we? Well, sometime in the future. So.
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear his views. No, I'm joking.
Farrah, we're going to do our, quick fire round. So speed answers only.
Okay.
Are you ready?
All right. I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Coffee or tea?
Tea. I'm British.
If you weren't in recruitment, what would you be doing?
Oh, I'd like to have been a vet, I think.
CV/resume or just LinkedIn?
I do like a good CV. Let's be honest. I would say CV.
Team fit or skill first?
Team fit. You can teach skill, but attitude is much harder to teach.
Favorite candidate story?
The person that I helped move countries and start a new life elsewhere.
Worst interview pet peeve?
Waffling. Drives me mad. Just get to the point. That's just me.
Nando's or McDonald's?
McDonald's. Who doesn't love a Mackie D's?
Now Assist or ChatGPT?
Well, I should really say Now Assist, but I'm actually going to say ChatGPT because it's something that I use on a daily basis. But I love Now Assist. I think the demo that I saw in Forum was just, wow, blown away.
Okay, and that's the end of it. Yeah, that's the end of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Farrah. That's good.
So, before we wrap things up, and we hit our Brew It Forward moment.
Okay.
Who in the ServiceNow ecosystem has made a difference to you and someone that you want to shout out?
Okay, so I did mention this person earlier on the chat, but it's got to be Chuck for me, like Chuck Tomasi. So I know he's like retired and he's loving life and everything, but like I said, he's somebody that has always been welcoming. And also he's been really encouraging as well, especially like, for example, when I was starting my podcast, I met him in the London Forum. I think I'd only done like a few episodes by then. And I asked him if he would come on, and he said yes. And not only did he just come on, he helped me a lot in terms of the podcast, in like, just how to present yourself, how to speak to people, the equipment that he was using. He's actually got a book out, I think, like Dummies, how to like podcast. So he was a real expert. And so, any question I'd had, he'd always help me. And that's helped me massively. And anytime I've seen him, he knows my name, which I'm always so shocked about. And he always stops and he says hello. And that for me is just huge, because he, at the end of the day, like I always looked at him like a celebrity, like, because that's what he is. Like people stop him, ask for selfies. Like I think the first time I met him at the London Forum, like this is in person, the guy couldn't move. Like he was cornered. Like people were just coming up to him. Like there's like a line of people like just waiting with their phones for a selfie. And he's always got this amazing smile. So yeah, he would be like, I would love to have him on this show. So I would say Brew It Forward, Chuck Tomasi.
That's brilliant, Farrah, and we'll make sure that we'll tag them on social, and maybe they'll join us next time. So thank you for the connection and the community that you just provided. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No worries. So, Farrah, I'm not going to say it's been enlightening. It's been a genuine pleasure. Thanks for sharing your insights and your real experiences.
Oh, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Right. And Farrah, your stories and your honesty, it really kind of brings it to life. So, to everyone else listening, if Farrah has inspired you, share this episode and spread the love. Yeah.
And as always, real work, real learning, and real people. Now that's coffee, config, and chaos. Until next time, see you again.
See you later.
Bye.